his son committed suicide. His family was torn apart. I mean, it can't have been okay doing 11 years in prison. I mean, it just the whole, and you think,
horrible.
okay, and this is a guy, a lot of people don't realize this, but Madoff was a successful money manager. He was very good and had a very, very big reputation with billions of dollars under management.
Because to me, he was just like the guy who had the Ponzi scheme, but he was actually successful for quite a long time. I mean, I knew that he was well respected in the financial world, which is completely nuts and insane and horrific. He was like on the board of NASDAQ, I think. Or the New York Stock. He was on board
I think he was a chairman of NASDAQ, actually.
One of those stock exchanges. Like, the guy was not just quote unquote like respected. The guy was not just like at a lot of charity functions. The guy was fully, deeply into the regulation of the financial world. And I think that's how it's almost like the most aggressive snake oil salesman like gets right in your face and says, this is snake oil almost. And he was almost like that. Like, he was there so obviously public and involved with the financial infrastructure that nobody was able to, well, I shouldn't say nobody, because a number of people raised concerns about him to the SEC over many years, but they were ignored because he was so powerful, because nobody wanted to be the one who officially challenged him. Nobody wanted to be the one who said, you have to produce a list of what stocks you've owned. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I'm wrong. Madoff may have started the scheme all the way back in the 1970s.
Oh, okay, so that's what I thought.
But he started off legit. I mean, he started a penny stock brokerage in 1960, and that grew up into this company called Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. And he was the chairman of that company until he got arrested. And they ended up being one of the top market makers in Wall Street. And that means they bypassed specialist firms and they directly executed orders over the counter. That's how he got away with so much of this stuff. He could execute his own orders without anybody else being in the middle.
Yeah, they had that secret like fourth floor or whatever floor it was that nobody else was allowed to go onto.
Yeah, but apparently he admitted that he had been falsifying these records all the way back into the mid-1980s.
Oh, well, I'm very glad you looked that up and we didn't eulogize him as somebody who was once a legit successful
Well, if he didn't
investor.
start until the 1980s, he had 25 years of legit. Right? Started in 1960 and went all the way to 1985 before he started faking things, if that's true. I think he was legit for a long time, actually, but maybe not.
Well, so the question is, let's say, I don't know the circumstances of how he died, but because I frankly don't care to look it up.
He got sick. He got terminal.
Okay.
And he asked for a compassionate release, and they turned him down.
Okay, good. I don't care. So he's not worth my mental energy. But what I do wonder, and what we were discussing before we started recording, was whether or not he felt regretful as he was dying, or if the good life, the billionaire life, was so great for the amount of years that he lived it. That he was thinking, maybe it was worth it.
See, I was thinking it was only about 15 years where he was being a fraudster. And let's say that he didn't start this whole fraud until mid-1985. That means he lived a life from 1960 until 2009. How many years is that? That's 49 years.
49 years.
49 years.
Yeah, I'm thinking he wasn't living like, he wasn't a billionaire in the 60s. Anyway, Who cares? The point is, it was a long time. He was like a wealthy guy for a long time.
One reason to care would be to ask yourself, would you do that? If you could get away with it for 30 years, is it worth 11 years in prison and the suicide of your child and the destruction of your family? Would it be worth it for 30 years of wealth, fortune, fame, living at the top of the biggest financial city in the world. You're on the top of the heap for 30 years. Is that worth it? What do you think?
Of course not. Why are you even... The fact that you said it twice gives me pause. Is it worth it to you?
Well, I mean, look, we almost worship people who do that. I mean, look at the movies that come out of Hollywood that are, in effect,
what are you
eulogizing.
trying to say here? Are you saying you think it's... You can understand?
I'm thinking that there are people listening to our podcast right now who are thinking, yeah, I might do that. I might be willing to do that. Like as if if there was a drug an Olympic athlete could take and get away with, that would guarantee him a gold medal. A huge percentage of Olympic athletes said they'd do it.
Yeah.
Even if they would die 7 or 8 years later.
4 or what was it? 5 Tour de France wins. 6 Tour. I have no idea.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Holy smokes.
What do they have in common? They are psychopaths / sociopaths. They don't care about the emotions, the experience, hurting other people. They don't care about any of it. So if Madoff was like that, maybe he doesn't care that his son killed himself and his entire family is ruined and in complete misery, assuming they weren't in on it at all, which I know there are questions around that, but let's assume they weren't. Maybe he really didn't care. And in that case, yeah, I think maybe he didn't feel so. I don't know, maybe prison was terrible. I have no idea. I hope so. But yeah, there are people who don't feel human remorse and who don't have empathy. And those people are out there.
This is such an interesting philosophical question to me. I think the glib answer is, of course not. You would never do it, right? But that's a glib answer. An awful lot of people do, and I don't know if they're all sociopaths. I mean, if you feel bad about what you did, then you aren't. If you say that you've been suffering for 30 years under the guilt of cheating all of these people, knowing that someday you're going to pay the piper, you're probably not a sociopath. You're probably a human being that didn't quite have enough integrity to step away from an opportunity that presented itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Jesus, we got movies called Butch, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid about people who rob trains. And yeah, they're killed in the end, but we really like these guys, Paul Newman and Robert Redford. I mean, how many other movies have you
There you go. Think about that movie. Those are guys that the reason that movie is so great is they care. They have empathy.
They have empathy.
They care
and they try not to hurt anybody.
They try not to hurt anybody.
And they think just an insurance company.
I keep like flashing back to the Lance Armstrong interview with Oprah, where he just literally can't express any compassion, any identification with his victims. And he had victims. He destroyed people's lives.
Man alive, what an interesting thing to think about if you're thinking about making money. I mean, here's the thing, you guys. The reason I'm kind of thinking about this is that if you learn Rule 1 investing and you're good at it, you will make money and people will find out. They'll find out you're doing well.
Maybe.
And I think there's a decent chance. I mean, honest to God, I think people will swim shark-infested waters to get to somebody that can make 15% a year and hand them their money.
Yeah, it's all a giant maybe. But yeah, if that happens.
And I'm just thinking, you guys need to understand that by taking on the idea of being a Rule 1 type investor, following these rules that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett laid down, you could very well find yourself in a Madoff-like situation. It's not impossible.
Like as in the bottom falls out.
As in, yes. Well, as in you've done very, very well. Now people have come to you and said, please manage my money. You've decided to do that.
Yeah.
You started managing other people's money. And then you make a mistake when the bottom falls out. It's because the bottom is always going to fall out. You guys, if you enjoyed this video and you feel it was valuable in teaching you more about how to invest, hit the like button and please share the video with your friends. And if you want more investing content, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the button on the screen. We got a free gift for you. Thanks again for watching.